just work on that all day. Keeping him away from the social interaction here is, I'm teaching him his place. So I come down here to hit the bag, he comes with me. Julie comes down the hill. He's free, you know, he's free doing his thing because he's my dog for this week, right? I'm tuning him up. So then he asserts himself and goes to go up to the person who's coming up. Now that's an error, but that is also a sign of why everything else that he does exists, right? It's where he thinks he lands in the pack, right? He thinks it's his responsibility, or at least thinks it's okay, to when somebody new comes into the environment, to go and interact with them before I say he can, or to decide how to deal with the situation before I say he can. Okay? That's why we let him on the couch. That's why we let him feel good this afternoon. So when we come out and do this stuff, he makes mistakes. Because if I was just being on top of him the whole time, he wouldn't have made that mistake. But I got to see his true nature. So what I said is he started to go towards Julie. I said no. I corrected on the collar. I encouraged him to come back. And then I encouraged him to go over there and play. And then I continued to talk to Julie. And so now, naturally, he's standing back here and watching the situation, waiting for me. That is a good dog. That is what I like. That's a good boy. If he can do that naturally, he's gonna feel so much easier. Like, you don't have to worry about stuff. He's gonna see that I'm gonna be dealing with the outside world, and he's just hanging back and waiting for me. He's not trying to interact or deal with any situation. This is ideal, right? But that's not what he did when we set the setup up. He went to go interact with Julie, right? Not a good choice. He should be looking at that as something he's not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one. That's a big thing to work on. If he was my guy, which I'm treating him as this week, that's the thing that I'm teaching him right now is when I'm interacting, when the world's interacting with us, they're interacting with me, right? And if somebody's baby talking you, we'll go down that road too. But in general, it's me dealing with it. So you literally physically stay behind and watch me deal with it. So now he's not right here. I put him over here just for the learning sessions. He can be right here eventually. But for now, I want him to literally be back and see me and you doing our thing. And if he tries to close the gap, I can turn around and send him away. Sending away is very important. So if he's like, oh, I'm gonna come see what they're doing now. He starts to head towards us, I'll correct him and I'll physically tell him to go away. And he'll back up, you know, as far as 5-10 feet away and watch. This helps him understand that he's not supposed to be involved, and it gives us a chance to socially send him away from a situation, which isn't happening, right? He thinks he's supposed to be involved in it, and I'm saying, go away, let us talk. That right there, like if you can do that in your house, you can start doing it with friends, you can start doing it with guests, you can start doing it with the outside world, you're set. It's the dog trying to put their nose in it and deal with the situation and be involved in it. Because they're entitled to. They feel like they're entitled to, okay?
And he's also not whining. Usually he's whining if she's trying to put him in a down. And he's like all over the place marking on everything.
Yeah, we're working on that by giving him freedoms with the intention of correcting undesired behaviors, kind of silently correcting them if I can. And just as the days go on, you see him doing less and less of those behaviors and praising the things we do. Like, it literally, I know we say that all the time, but that is what we do. Easier said than done. Now you see he's taken a position in his mind that I'm going to deal with it and he's going to just wait for me, which means he's following my direction. That is the whole thing. You can have your dog out and in a sit and in a down, but if in their mind they haven't committed to following you and they're still trying to be interactive when you want them to be passive, you're gonna have all the symptoms that everyone complains about: whining, fidgetiness, not reliable, you know, just not there fully the way you want them to. They're constantly trying to interact with the environment. Now he knows, because he's been through training, he knows, and all dogs learn, that they get their chance to interact with the environment. I don't want them interacting with strangers though. I don't want them interacting with stranger dogs. If we see them off in the distance, they're not for us. If we see people, I don't want you interacting with people either, right? Now, but go ahead and sniff and enjoy and be a dog. And if we have a dog friend with us, play with our dog friends that we know and that we've already went through the process together with. But strangers are just kind of off limits, and they're not for you to say whether or not they can come and go. That's for me to say, right? So this is what he's learning. This dynamic, it's that relationship dynamic that if you have it, everything is so much easier, and if you don't have it, everything is so much more difficult, okay? So we put him in the situation. I set the situation up with Julie. We set it up. It's not a real situation. It's a setup so that he can learn it. And we're going to continue to do it throughout this week and do real life situations with him, as well as working on his other issues like the dog resource garden towards dogs, that kind of stuff, and his social skills. We're going to take a look at those. And I'm sure his commands are pretty tight. I haven't really been tight with him since he's been here, but I'm imagining they're pretty tight. I'll go through them again. Just to make sure they're there. But this right here, the relationship he has with his human, and I am kind of trying to take the role as his human while he's here. That's where it all is, either it's make or break. And that's, unfortunately, that's just how it is with dogs. They base their behavior off of current company, right? Where they're at, who they're around. Okay, good boy. Break. Woo! Good boy. I'm proud of you. Really good decisions. Got a lot of good boys today. Got a few bad boys. Just a couple things that I noticed. One of the things is we went to open the door and he really wanted to go out the door, and I was shocked. And I know why, because he's imagining it's time to go home or it's time to go for a hike or something. So I'm more than likely that's the only door that's used that he goes home with. So he's like, oh, mommy must be here. So he really wanted to go out the door. To his credit, he did not step out the door, but he ran to the door and went out put his head out while his feet were on the edge of the door. You know, and when I corrected him, he came back in instead of going back out, and everything was fine. He takes corrections well, and he sent away well. Everything looked good. And then when I reset the trigger of the door, he responded properly. But I seen for a moment what he struggles with. It's that impulse. He's like, I see something I want, right? He does this. This is interesting. We're all hanging out in the room. Julie will leave the room. He'll whine. He doesn't even have that strong of a relationship with Julie. I mean, he likes Julie, but it's not like they're like BFFs. It's just something happened. Somebody moved, and he wasn't involved. So he whined. So I'm like, and again, I'm saying, if this is my dog, because that's what I do with the brush ups, is like they want it tighter, they want that relationship thing figured out. I have to try to build that relationship with them again. And so I could not live with that. That little, like somebody leaves the room and I just hear him next to me just going,
no, it drives you crazy.
I couldn't, I'm just saying, dog trainer or not, even if I wasn't a dog trainer, there's no living with that stuff. So we're dealing with that. You know what's funny about that is, that means I have to spend a lot of time with this guy. I have to spend a lot of time with him. And so basically I train the other two dogs. We deal with all the other dogs here, get them all satisfied, and then he spends the rest of the day with me until my kid comes home, until Jesse comes home, our kid. And it lets you, I take him for walks like he's my dog. At the same time I take Riggins out. And he's pretty much taking Riggins' place right now in that regard.
Look at that.
And so those are some things that I'm going to be working on between our relationship, what I like. I don't like the whines, and I don't like you seeing something and then going and trying to interact with it before I say it's okay. And I also just want him to know I don't ever think it's okay, and rarely will I ever say, okay, go ahead and go meet that stranger. It would have to be a special occasion. So, okay. Doing pretty good. We're gonna just let him free here and stroll about, let him stretch his legs. We're gonna do some setups with other dogs. I don't know if he's gonna fall for it unless it feels really organic, so, good boy. I don't think he's leash reactive anymore, is he?
No, but she said like they're moving to this 12-story high-rise, and it's dog friendly. So in the hallways and elevators and just being in the city, there's going to be a lot of dogs. So I don't think she's experiencing like lunging, crazy spinning, barking anymore, but I think there's still interest.
Okay. So you want to set one up?
Yeah.
For this session?
I will go get a dog.
Grab a dog.
I'll
What's
go
great
get
is we have so many.
I'll go get a surprise dog.
Yeah.